Hello. Welcome to the Mio on MMA podcast for a review of UFC 319. I did not do a prediction podcast for this one just because things are very, very busy in the professional life of Mio right now. And as a result, there's going to be some spotty coverage. I'm going to try and get reviews out for every event, but prediction videos and podcasts are going to be a little bit more rare just because, well, it's time. And to do this properly, I got to review a lot of film. I got to do it. And it's an autistic demand of myself, OCD. I'm not sure what it is. Is it the OCD? Is it the autism? I don't know. But I do feel like I have to do that thorough work. And if I don't have the time, I don't have the time. There are certain cards where I can kind of sort of bullshit my way through to a certain degree because I have like a really strong idea of what Fighter A and Fighter B are. Like, for example, no, I don't need a lot of film review to come up with an idea of how Chimaev versus DDP went, because honestly, there's not really any film review on the matter. It's like, yeah, okay, I can look at the numbers and know DDP gets taken down a lot, and I can look at the numbers and know that Chimaev fades in fights, and that's really the dynamic. So I got Chimaev right on this one. I did do picks, obviously, and you can check the Twitter if you want to verify this. Did not do very well. Did quite poorly on the undercard. Lost the first 4 fights of the night. Lupi Godinez versus Jessica Andrade was my first win, and then after that it went pretty well. I took 3 losses the rest of the way, so ended up losing 7 fights, winning 5 fights. So ended up the day reasonably okay and finished on a high note, but it did start bad. Now, I will say, watching it live, I did score 2 of the fights that I lost for the fighter I picked, and I stand by one of those scores, that being Edson Barboza versus Drakkar Klose. The other one, Karine Silva versus Deone Barboza, I've come around on. I scored it for Barboza live, but on the rewatch, I have a lot more time for the Karine Silva win. And we'll talk about that more in detail, but in a nutshell, I just sort of rated the damage and the work done by Silva in rounds 2 and round 3 a lot more than I did live, and that was probably because I was eating chicken wings while I was watching that fight. There's always that one fight on the card where it's kind of like dinner time, and that was the one, and that's where distraction comes into play. And I usually do make a point to rewatch that fight, unless it's like a quick knockout or something afterwards, to try to be like, okay, if I wasn't eating food, would I have seen this fight the same way? Let's quickly talk about the new TV deal, because we're at the death of pay-per-view stage of the UFC, where they've got the deal with Paramount Plus, basically $1 billion a year. It's $7 billion and change over 7 years, and there's some different loading on it. It's a little bit rear loaded, so the later years are worth more than the early years, but basically about $1 billion a year for TV rights without pay-per-view. Now, they haven't completely closed the door on pay-per-view. There may be like a special event. I'm thinking maybe they're thinking that White House card they keep talking about, but I kind of wonder about that one. If you're Donald Trump, would you prefer to set a pay-per-view record, which you're probably not going to set? Let's just be honest here. Boxing has that. Or would you prefer to set the largest viewing audience, which you could potentially do in combat sports history with a free, not free because there's the subscription, but a Paramount Plus or CBS broadcast? That would be the interesting question, I guess. That'd be a weird thing to go for. But in a nutshell here, there are 4 groups I think that this applies to: the fighters, the UFC, Paramount, and the fans. I think 2 of these are winners. I think 2 of these are losers. Winners, the UFC. They got an increase in rights fees from what they were getting from ESPN Plus. They have a completely divorced from quality revenue stream now, because let's say the UFC puts on nothing but crappy shows and the viewership numbers are bad, they still get paid $1 billion. Now, that would permanently damage them, so I'm not suggesting that they're going to completely phone it in. But there is the UFC has really, really prided itself on this whole, getting away from actual quality related revenue streams and into, these foolproof, fixed streams of revenue. So in that regard, big win, more money, less pressure to actually put together good cards. Very much win. And no, no revenue sharing with the fighters that they're locked into. They're talking about bigger bonuses perhaps, and there may be some bigger paydays and so on. There may be a raise in fighter pay, but there's nothing groundbreaking or shifting. Someone did the breakdown that even like 20% of this deal, they could well exceed the current fighter pay numbers. But anyways, the other winner is the fans, because we can't really say because I'm assuming the price is going to go up. But as it stands right now, Paramount Plus would run you less than $200 a year. And when you consider that it's an $80 pay-per-view system, you're basically getting the full year of UFC products for like 2 pay-per-view purchases, which is, it's a big win. And I don't actually think the quality is going to necessarily suffer too much. Like I said, I think actually we may see better quality. We'll see lesser, I think my prediction is that the pay-per-view cards, the numbered event cards, will be weaker than they are now, but that things like the Apex or travel cards will be stronger than they are now. So overall, it kind of balances out to being basically about the same thing. And then on the loser side of this, you have the fighters, because to be clear, I think people are being a little bit over doomer about this, just because they're like, well, there's no leverage for the fighters now. For next 7 years, they're kind of screwed as far as pay is concerned, which is absolutely true. I just think that they were screwed anyways. With the Trump administration in play, because the Trump administration is publicly very lax on antitrust and things like that, and monopolies, that the UFC was going to more or less suppress fighter pay and continue doing what they were already doing, which is our revenue is going up, 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 and fighter pay as a ratio of that is going down, 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 down. I mean, we've gone from, I think at the beginning of the ESPN deal, it was close to 30% revenue for fighters, down to about 12. I think 12 or 14% is the bottom of what has been put out there now. So that's going to continue. So that sucks. But I think that was a problem that already existed. And this is just not really that big of a change in that regard. So there is that. And then the other loser is still Paramount Plus itself, because I hate to get conspiratorial about this, but there has to be something in the background, because if you think about this, $1 billion a year at their current Paramount Plus subscriptions is several million new subscriptions to make up that gap to do that. Plus maybe, I guess, whatever advertising revenue maybe that they can get kicked in. But it's substantially more than the viewership numbers that ESPN was reporting. And that, to me, means that this is probably going to be a money loser for them. But if they got something in the background, maybe that becomes worth it, I guess. But that's the quick, airplane overhead of the matter. So let's talk about the fights. Main event, DDP versus... I guess general impressions of this card. The main card looked really, really good. I was really... quite pleased with how it looked on paper. And it did deliver as well, by the way. 2 spinning back elbows. I mean, come on. But the only thing I will say is that the lack of a co-main event here was, I think, a bit of a gamble, just because you have Chimaev in your main event, who has had some medical issues in the past, some issues with actually making weight as well, and I wouldn't have trusted it. So I would have had a title fight as a co-main event. So I would have put that in the place of Pico versus Murphy. But otherwise, it was a very well-matched card. Undercard, little bit weaker. But as for the fights themselves, DDP gets absolutely ragdolled by Chimaev for most of 5 rounds. I guess you could say the last minute or so was where DDP actually got to do some things, and maybe actually won the round despite being outlanded 19-87 in the round. But he did hurt. Chimaev and did the most damage the fight saw. I will say there's a conversation going on about social media right now about whether this fight should have been booed, whether it was exciting or not. I think that I enjoyed it as a not morbid, it's the wrong thing, surreal experience, but I wouldn't want to see it again. I don't have interest in seeing Chimaev do this to somebody else. But I get it. And some people, most notably DJ, Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson, was talking about how fans are not appreciating the sport because they didn't like this. I disagree with that. Like, I'm a guy who beats the drum of the guys who boo grappling right away are not MMA fans. And I don't say that as a gatekeeper thing. I don't say that as an elitist thing. I just mean, like, literally, you're watching a sport that has grappling and you apparently hate grappling. Why are you not watching boxing, bare knuckle boxing, karate combat, kickboxing, Muay Thai, all of these things that have the things that you theoretically like and not the things you theoretically dislike. But like the booing came in after we had established that like Chimaev was going to crucifix DDP, land really, really light ground and pound, and DDP was not going to have an answer for it. Like, I think that's totally fair. I think if somebody found this fight boring, it's totally fair. It's not a problem. It's in the bag. So I think Mighty Mouse is barking up the wrong tree on that one. Then again, I also often think Mighty Mouse is barking up the wrong tree, but it's working out for him. So go figure. But yeah, I will say coming out of this fight, there is some kind of like weird takes where like Chimaev's just going to do this to like everybody. And it's entirely possible. I want to make that clear. Like, it's not like I'm saying that's not going to happen. That's not that's not possible. But we have to like really, really look at this. There is a gulf in counter wrestling between the best counter wrestler that Chimaev has done this to, which is Robert Whittaker, and the guys who kept him from doing most of this, which is Kamaru Usman and Gilbert Burns. So there is like he has done this against guys who are maybe average counter wrestlers. Let's not get carried away. There's no one that I would say he's done that is like actually a particularly good wrestler that this happened with. I mean, keep in mind, DDP got taken down by Darren Till in the second round of their fight. He got taken down by Derek Brunson pretty much at will in the first round. So like, and then the other guys are just guys who haven't tried to take him down. He's got 34% takedown defense. Like it's bad. it's not good. And then like even Robert Whittaker had some significant problems at welterweight with the more wrestling deep division. And also another thing to note here is he kind of just crushed him. So there was that. We haven't seen that. So it's like people are like, he's just going to do this to Nasruddin Imavov or Caio Bahayo or Anthony Hernandez or anyone you want to put in that next stop picture. I don't know about that. Like I'm gonna pick him. Like I will go on record right now that barring some kind of horrible medical injury thing, I am going to be picking Chimaev in his next fight, regardless who it's against, whether it's against Imavov or if it's against Caio Bahayo, assuming it's not like 205 or something. And he doesn't do like the complete Conor McGregor, which is like win the belt and never defend it. But like assuming he's going to defend the belt, I will be picking him. And I picked him here. But there is just a very large gap that is in play as far as like what level he can do this against is concerned. That's all I'm saying. So moving on down, we had the Lerone Murphy versus Aaron Pico fight. Aaron Pico had a good start. He had a pair of takedowns. He was doing some good things. He was doing kind of what I expected him to do, which is I'm like, he's going to start well and control the action and do some things and then get knocked out. And he did. It happened a little bit earlier than I expected it to, but he eats a spinning back elbow from Lerone Murphy, gets knocked out. And that's kind of the Aaron Pico career. He is, on paper, a very good wrestler and boxer, but he has terrible defensive instincts as a striker. And that's his problem, is he gets tracked in on his own offense. And when he gets hit, it doesn't really matter what he gets hit with. In this case, he got hit with like something hellacious. But it doesn't really matter what he gets hit with. It's almost always like very, very hard. And I don't think he has a particularly good chin. And he would need an incredibly good chin to work around that problem. So that's kind of the thing. It's like, can Aaron Pico out-wrestle most of this division? Yeah. Can Aaron Pico get knocked out by most of this division? Also, yes. Like it's going to be that kind of proposition. It's like the guys he's not going to The only way he's going to like win fights and I'm going to be comfortable picking him is if he's fighting dudes who just can't hit hard. And that was his Bellator run. Now, a lot of people were like breaking down his Bellator run into like just like a record. Like he went whatever it was. It was like, hang on, I can probably do the quick math here. Yeah, right. His entire career before this was in Bellator. Right. So yeah, 13-4 in Bellator and all that jazz. It's not that he went 13-4 in Bellator. It's not that he lost in Bellator. It's that the only people he has wins over are guys who are not particularly dynamically dangerous. We're talking like Henry Corrales, who also knocked him out in the first time they met, Pedro Carvalho, James Gonzalez, Justin Gonzalez. These are guys who are either have like just very, very, very obviously wrestling deficiencies or lack dynamic power. And like when he fought Adam Borch, he got knocked out. And now he's got knocked out by Lerone Murphy. It's like, it's not that he's bad because he lost in Bellator. It's that he's bad because his defensive instincts, his eyes for it, his ability to absorb punishment are all really, really questionable. That's the problem. So moving on down, we have Carlos Prates versus Jeff Neal. I picked this one wrong. I had Jeff Neal. I'm like, Jeff Neal's going to work at a pace, and he's going to be tough enough, and he's going to be durable enough, he's going to absorb some damage. And the fact that Prates really doesn't have a round-winning style is going to be a problem for him. Well, Prates heard me and just said, what if I just like spinning elbow knock him out? And it's going to be like hellacious, and it's going to be damaging. It's going to be super, 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 super painful to watch. And he did that. So do I have necessarily a better hope for Prates? Not really. I think he was fighting better than I expected him to in terms of like volume and round-winning activities. He had outlanded him 32-26. He was throwing more shots as well. So I don't know, I guess, but I still feel like I need to see Prates win a decision over somebody before I really am comfortable with the idea that like he is very reliant on the knockout to actually get victories. That like people can take the Trevin Giles style from like 2024 and like, you know, turn that into, as long as they're not Trevin Giles and they're not obsessed with being slick and they're not kind of not durable, that they can get wrecked. But we'll see. It's only Ian Gary that's managed to exploit it, and Ian Gary is, as much as I find him annoying, he is quite good. Michael Venom Page versus Jared Cannonier went about as what I thought it would go. Cannonier doesn't really have a way of winning the fight in the ways that Michael Venom Page tends to lose. He was able to get the clinch, but he found that like his actual lack of clinch wrestling meant that wasn't a takedown spot. He got hurt a couple of times because Cannonier is a little bit fragile now. I'm not going to say glass cannon or anything because he still takes a lot of punishment, but he is a guy who is now singularly capable of losing a round via a big moment. And, you know, that's essentially what happened here. He got knocked down. He got hurt. And, yeah, that was kind of about it. He couldn't really weaponize volume in a way to overwhelm Page because Page does not throw a lot of strikes. He threw 64 strikes here, landed 36 of them. By the way, someone was trying to use him as use his performance against Shara Bullet to justify Shara Bullet being labeled an elite striker. He's not. Commentary can go away with that. But that's about it. Kai Asakura versus Tim Elliott. Tim Elliott gets takedowns and submits Kai Asakura. I don't have much else to say. Is like the stand-up was going Asakura's way, but like there is a significant problem with him where it's not necessarily takedown defense per se. It's his scrambling. It's number one, not particularly active. It's number two, there's just like bad decisions he makes pretty consistently that puts him into bad trouble. He needs to fix those because you cannot get away at flyweight being a guy who cannot scramble at a competent level. It's not a winning formula. There's too many people who are there's almost everybody, if we're being honest, that is going to exploit that. And that's a big problem for Kai Asakura. But I did pick him here because I bought into he's saying the right things about working on the scrambling and the grappling and the wrestling aspects of the game. And he's got the physical aspects to do this right. And Tim Elliott's old. and it's just kind of really awkward and not very physically imposing. But it did not work. Now, I will say there are people like talking about giving Elliott like a run to a title shot or something. It's like, dude, no. Dude is a fundamental fundamental gatekeeper. Then we had, I'm going to try and say his name right, Bansingur Surakayev. I'm pretty sure I got the last name right. Versus Eric Nolan. Eric Nolan was giving Surakayev a good fight up until hurting his knee in the second round and basically just crumbling after that and getting rear naked choked. So there you go. I will say that the odds on Surakayev were insane. I'm not saying that this kid is bad. Obviously not. I picked him here. But the idea that people were betting on him at like minus odds that he was getting like 4 digits in some places is just it's a bit much, guys. Like, you guys are crazy. Just he has beaten no one of note at this time. And to be clear, that's just how the regional scene works. But let's pump the brakes. Let's see what happens when he fights somebody legitimate and that we can learn from. Okay? I'm not saying you shouldn't have been favored. I'm just saying that the levels were a bit much. Nolan looked okay, actually. Honestly, he looked better than I thought he would. And we'll see what he can do at welterweight. He's going to be a big-ass welterweight, I will say that much. Michael Oleksiejczuk destroyed Gerald Meerschaert. I picked Meerschaert because of Oleksiejczuk's tendency to fall into submissions, and he just crushed him. I can't say that it's like really... So this is the interesting thing. Of course, Oleksiejczuk's now with Fighting Nerds, and people are like, well, he's turning a corner. I'm like, I don't know if he is. Like, beating Dricus Du Plessis and GM3 in the manner that he did, I don't think it really proves much. Like, I'm intrigued. Like, that's kind of the thing is, I want to see him win a fight that I don't think he would have won before. And like, you'll be like, well, whoa, hang on. You picked GM3 to beat him. Yeah, but if you were to tell me that GM3 was going to get like no takedowns and not provoke any grappling whatsoever, like, I'm not picking anyone to beat him at that point, except for Deron Wynn, basically. So I don't think that's necessarily the probative thing you think. Jessica Andrade versus Lupi Godinez. Lupi outmatched her in terms of like slickness on the feet and like technical striking. Jessica Andrade is still fundamentally dangerous because she is still very physically scary, but she doesn't really have a structured game of any kind. Like, her game was always about just being physically overwhelming, and I don't really think she can do that to many people anymore, is the problem. She's a very unreliable pick in a nutshell. And the problem is, I think the best part of her formative years were spent being miserable in fighting, and as a result, nothing really formed, nothing really developed, which is a shame because she has an athletic ability I don't actually think we've seen at strawweight before. Like, imagine her with like the technical development of a Weili Zhang. Imagine that for a moment, and it's kind of terrifying, or even like a Thug Rose. But it's not really there. Chase Hooper got knocked out by Alexander Hernandez. I have very, very little to say about that. Like, Hooper was winning up until getting his brain splattered, but it was the first round, and Hooper couldn't find a way to get it to the ground. It was a bad sign. He needs to not... Like, I'm not saying don't work on your striking, because obviously he should, but his striking is always going to be secondary to his victory condition of the ground game, and he has to be willing to get to the fight to the ground against most people who are not like particularly old or ineffective strikers ASAP. That has to be a part of his game. And the fact that he tried, I think, like one takedown. Is it just one takedown? Two. He tried 2 takedowns and got stuffed and then got wasted is not a great sign. Because as much as his run recently at lightweight has been kind of cool, it has to be said that it's against old men Jim Miller, old man Clay Guida, horribly flawed fighter Vyacheslav Borsho, a grappler predominant guy in Jordan Leavitt, a not physically capable at this level Nick Fiore. Like, that run has a lot of asterisks next to it. And the fact that he keeps it, his chin's very in the air when he pressures people. He's very, very, very open to getting slept like this. It's a problem. It's a problem. And I hope he regroups. Drakkar, Klose, Edson, Barboza. I scored this for Barboza, and even on rewatch, I still do. I have him winning the first and the third round, but I don't have a problem with Klose winning. Klose had the better round of them all. Like, the second round is key. This is a clear example, and I should have said something about this with a DDP, like 10-8 situation. This is a fight that kind of like stands out with the problem with the 10-9s everything scoring criteria that we have predominantly in the UFC is that Klose had a better round in the second round than either man had in the first or the third round, but they get scored the same way. It's kind of a problem. Like, in a perfect world, I think I'd like this to be a draw. So I do think Klose lost the first and the third round. I think he got slightly hit harder. I think he got similar levels of volume in the third round. He did out-volume Barboza in the first round, but at range, at significant strike range, it was 24-15. So I would have liked to see this be a draw, basically, where like I respect the fact that Klose hurt him in the second round and had a very solid round, not 10-8 by the current criteria by any means, but he had the best round of them all, and like that probably should have been that. And then Crine Silva versus Deone Barboza. Like I said, I was eating during this fight. I scored the first round for Barboza. Stand behind that. Like that. That's obviously on the table. She outstruck her, got the takedown, got her back, and went for that armbar at the end, which I think was a bad idea because I think it's, I don't know, I think it kind of showed a little bit too much. And then the second and third round, I still have the second round for Barboza, but I do get it. Silva landed a lot of strikes, more volume, probably more damage, and I'm fine with that. And then the third round, I have Silva winning in general, despite the 2 minutes top control for Barboza. Not a lot was done with it. She got outstruck from bottom and a couple submission attempts. So yeah, I'd say the third round goes to Crine Silva, pretty much either way. And then further on down, the opener, Joseph Morales versus Alibi Idris. It's not a great way to end the Ultimate Fighter, I would say, because Joseph Morales doesn't really feel like a different guy than the guy who got cut from the UFC after losing to Eric Shelton. Like, I understand that he had a close fight with Shelton and he lost to Davidson Figueiredo. And that's obviously not a problem. It's just 2018, we didn't realize how good Figueiredo was yet. And he beat Roberto Sanchez. It was not a bad fighter. But, I don't know. It just doesn't feel like he's, like, necessarily a particularly good flyweight. Like, I'm fine with him being in the UFC, but, like, when you look at Tough and if we're treating this as anything, you kind of want, like, some new hotness to come in. You would have wanted something like Alibi Idris, who has a very flashy reputation from the Kazakh regional scene with Nisa FC. But, he was really untested, and he just did not deal with the pressure of Morales very well at all. Morales was able to get takedowns pretty easily with him. He got shaken off in the second round and then got the triangle choke. So it was a really solid performance by Joseph Morales. It's just I don't really know if necessarily a lot has changed from his first time in the UFC to now as far as like what his ceiling is and what he can actually accomplish at this level. There will be no prediction video for the next card, or if there is, I'm not planning on one. Just, again, very, very busy. So I'll see you with the recap for the UFC Shanghai, which is coming up. I think that's the next one, is right? The Walter Walker versus... Yeah. Walker versus Zhang, which is... there's not a lot on that card I'm looking forward to, I'll be honest. There's a couple, like Loni Kavanaugh versus Charles Johnson. That's my highlight, but the rest of it, not right. Oh my God, I didn't even realize we're getting Yizha versus Weston Wilson. Why? Why are we doing this? Why? Oh my God, that is a terrible fight. I am not here. I am not here for that fight at all. That is not good. Oh boy. I mean, there's some appeal in like Aljamain Sterling versus Brian Ortega for obvious reasons. Both of those guys have been very, very good, but I feel like both of them are sort of on the downslope at this point. And then we of course have the main event of Johnny Walker versus Mingyang Zhang. That could be really, really fun. Don't get me wrong, but it's one of those messy. This could also just be an absolute tragedy fights. And other than that, you have Sergey Pavlovich versus Waldo Cortez Acosta, two guys I've never really had a lot of time for in the heavyweight division. I don't doubt that they're good. I don't like they're top 10, blah blah blah. But I think it's more of an issue with the UFC's heavyweight division than like and the general state of global MMA that they are, as opposed to them being particularly good. Sumajarji, Kevin Borges, that's a fun fight. It's fine. And yeah, I do not have much else. I guess by the standards of like Prospect 205 MMA, Dayar Nergozier and Uran Saltabaldiev is not a bad fight, but that's about it. So, anyways, check out the social medias down below. I would really love it if you would come join us on the Discord server and talk about the Fight Masters League that we are running, where basically everybody in the server can put their picks in. We'll see who actually wins out in the end. Congratulations to Lex for winning UFC 319 and Juliana for continuing to lead the way, showing the girl power. And there's also the Fight Simulator there. Also, there's my video game stuff. If you enjoy me talking about MMA, you probably enjoy that there, playing MechWarrior 5 and MechWarrior Online, Super Mega Baseball, and all that jazz. So I will see you when I see you.